School's in session. The odds are good that you are watching this video on a phone. Odds are better that everyone you know in your social circle also watches things on phones. If you look at this graph of the ages of phone users who are dependent on their phones for access to the internet, you can see that as time has gone on, the age of users who are between the ages of 18 to 29 has gone up significantly. These phone users are young people, and things that young people are known for are things like hormones, poor fashion choices, and going to school. So if we take these young people, add them to a school setting, is that an equation that equals a problem? When phones first came out, they were of the flip variety. Then in 2010, phones became smarter and more students had them. Parents and everyone were concerned about them in schools. So in the 2010s-ish, around 91% of the schools in the US had banned them. But then, educational apps became a thing and people thought, maybe these phones are more useful than bannable? This was around 2015 and around 65% of schools had banned them. But then, by 2020, schools are back to banning them. All the people are thinking to themselves, hey, maybe we've bitten off a little more than we can chew. Then, in 2024, Jonathan Haidt publishes his book, The Anxious Generation, where he calls smartphones tools of mass distraction, and the discussion of phones in schools goes mainstream. As recently as May of 2025, at least 23 states in the US have phone restrictions in place in the schools. This isn't just limited to the US though. Lots of countries around the world are also dealing with this. Before we get into the different arguments people are giving for and against bans, there are actually different levels of restrictions being lobbied for here, so let's go over those briefly. Total ban. No phones at school, period. Partial ban. Students can have phones on campus but cannot have them out during school hours. Bell to bell. Students can have phones out during non-instructional times, but they cannot use them while class is in session. So, should phones be banned in schools? Let's talk about it, starting with the anti-phone in school perspective. Perspective number 1. Cell phone bans protect students from physical, mental, and digital dangers. Phones are really good at taking small things and turning them into big things. More and more students are using them to plan, record, and circulate fights between classmates. The president of the Cleveland Teachers Union said, "The students were using the phones to create chaos and perpetuate violence in our schools. These phone-led fights have led to serious injury among students and even death in some extreme cases." The social media students have access to through the phones is the driving force behind these incidents. When the schools try to stop the organizing of these fights, the students just find ways around the social media filters to make it happen. I'm sure you know all about this from your own personal experience in school, correct? Snapchat, iMessage, AirDrop, there are a myriad of ways to get around school filters. Just blocking social media or limiting access to the Wi-Fi is not enough. The students need to be cut off at the source, the phone in the hand. I mean, maybe don't literally cut their hand off. This works much better as a metaphor. You get the idea. Phone bans would also be helpful for students who have anxiety that is triggered by constant notifications and the pressure to always be on that comes with them. There is research that shows that students who know they are getting messages but are unable to respond to them have elevated heart rates, blood pressure, and feelings of discomfort. Taking the phone out of the equation relieves them of that pressure. It's just my mom. Another thing. Every human with an active phone is vulnerable to a cyber attack. Phishing, spoofing, weak passwords. Every student on campus is a potential weak link in the chain that, if broken, can expose sensitive personal information. It's a lot harder to hack someone when your points of entry go from 5,000 to 100. Perspective number 2. Cell phone bans advance educational goals. Like I said, most adults are on board with at least some level of banning. There was a study that found that students without access to phones did better on things like taking detailed notes and recalling lecture details. There are tons of studies that show that phone-free schools are better equipped for educational tasks. That's my botanist. Another point often made is that students without phones are significantly less likely to cheat. Google searching, AI chatbots, texting the friend who actually pays attention during class. Do we really expect students to just willpower their way through these options when they are literally at their fingertips? If the adults can't even make it through a workday without checking their phone 25 times, how are the literal children supposed to fare? Research has also shown that taking phones away from low-achieving students ends up equaling several extra days worth of study time over the course of a year. What would you have done with several extra days of study time in school? Perspective number 3. Cell phone bans minimize distractions for students and teachers. There's this theory that just having a phone close by takes up enough mental space that you actually have a lowered ability to complete analytic tasks. It's called the brain drain. To put it concisely, humans cannot multitask. It's my mom again. If you try, your IQ is likely to drop several points. Similar to how it would be if you were running on a lack of sleep and you thought to yourself, I feel fine, but everybody else is watching you stir your coffee with a spatula and thinking, this is a problem for adults. Teenagers are not adults. Do we really expect them to succeed where we ourselves have consistently failed in the past? Removing the phones removes the temptation that comes along with it, allowing students to focus 100% of their attention on their studies. Well, let's be real, it's like 48% of their attention. There is plenty to distract teenagers without adding phones to the mix. If you define and protect periods of time without phones, research has shown that the effects of brain drain are lower among students. Keeping the devices in a locker or a locked pouch and not in the pocket on their bodies gives students the opportunity to focus on things right in front of them, their classmates or schoolwork. Hello? No, Mom, I already told you I can't come over today. I'm filming a video right now. Yes, yeah, Mom, I promise. I'll drink plenty of water. Okay, yeah. I love you too. Okay, bye. Sorry about that. As I was saying, having the freedom from distraction is especially relevant to students with ADHD or any other kind of learning disability. Phones can help with extremely specific tasks, but constant easy access to them makes it far more likely that students will disengage. This psychiatrist says that while phones might be helpful for specific learning tasks for students with disabilities, free-range access hurts learning engagement. At this point, almost all of the teachers and the parents who have weighed in on this issue believe that schools would be better without phones. Even a decent percentage of students are on board. Are you a person with a teenage child? Give me your perspective on this topic in the comments. Also, I'm doing my best to stay neutral on these two perspectives, so if by the end of this video I've managed to keep my opinion opaque, a like would be greatly appreciated. On with the video. Alright, the anti-phone perspective has been covered. Let's get to the pro-phone perspective. Perspective number 1. Cell phone bans prevent vital communication during emergencies. Students should be able to quickly contact help in case of emergencies. School shootings, panic attacks, natural disasters. There are plenty of things that can go wrong over the course of the day. While there are plenty of adults who are opposed to cell phones, they tend to be adults without school-aged children. Adults with school-aged children are mostly pro-phones in schools. There was a case of a school shooting in Florida where students with access to their phones were able to contact emergency responders during the attack, as well as their loved ones. They were also able to give prosecutors a large amount of evidence in the trial against the shooter. Meryl Alper says this is a generation that has grown up with a marked increase in school shootings and things like lockdown drill training. School shootings don't happen on a regular basis, thank God, but they do happen. Students regularly go through lockdown drills, which keeps that fear that they will happen a constant psychological threat. What do you think would happen to your own mental health if you had regular active shooter lockdown drills at your workplace? Phones are central to our way of life now. Families depend on them for basically anything involving coordination, which is especially relevant in an emergency. Most parents want to be in contact with their child throughout the day to ensure their well-being. Phone bans don't help the parents in these cases. Treating phones as contraband in class ignores the reality of modern life. Instead of bans that are unrealistic, give teachers the freedom to set the rules for their own classrooms and enforce them with classroom management. Just maybe not too much freedom. Perspective number 2. Cell phone bans prevent kids and teens from learning self-control and good digital citizenship. At this point, kids are gonna have phones. It's part of our way of life now. It's also part of coming of age in the modern world and learning how to be an individual. You can't fight against this kind of thing with bans. If you can think of a time when bans have effectively done what they were supposed to do, I would love to hear about it. Instead, we should be teaching students good online etiquette and how to be responsible in their phone use. That isn't possible if the phones are banned. A 2023 UNESCO report cautioned that students need to learn the risks and opportunities that come with technology, developing critical skills and understanding how to live with and without technology. Phones are relatively new in today's modern world, but the technology is only going to get more advanced. Richard Coletta said, "I want my kids to learn about good tech use in an educational setting from a qualified educator. This is a huge part of their future, and we have to teach them about it if we want them to succeed." Or I guess, alternatively, we could transition to a more Amish way of life, but that doesn't sound very realistic if I'm being honest. Perspective number 3. Cell phone bans promote panic over new technology. Let's be real. Humans are not great at new things. The printing press, telescopes, bicycles. When schools were first introduced, people thought they would ruin kids' bodies by protracted imprisonment. You know, one thing, my body was definitely ruined. Calculators were going to destroy math concepts. The internet was going to make people stupid. Actually, can you let me know if the jury has gotten back to us on the whole internet thing? And yes, schools actually turned out to be a pretty good idea, and calculators have proven to be pretty dang useful. Phones are on the same trajectory. This former school principal says educational apps allow students to remain engaged for longer periods of time and progress their learning journeys at an individualized pace. It also frees up valuable teacher time for small group instruction and social emotional learning. Good teachers are important here. Good teachers combined with student apps can meet students where they are and help them thrive at their own pace. Student apps make learning more engaging, easily accessible, and flexible. Last but not least, school budgets are tight. Schools don't have the money to buy devices that allow students to utilize these extremely useful apps. So why not make use of devices that students already have? Turn the phones into devices for supercharging education. That should be enough information to get you started. If you personally have a perspective you'd like to share, I am sure there are other people who would like to hear it, so type it out in the comments. If you weren't able to suss out that my own personal opinion is that I am very anti-phone, then now is the time to hit that like button. If you're already subscribed, you are a happy phone in the free phone community, and if not, you are a sad phone locked away in a locker somewhere waiting for the final bell. As always, keep your towel close, your friends closer, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.